Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Wright Flyer. This is your captain, Randy Wright speaking, and as always, I'm joined on our state-of-the-art radio program by my first officer, Jeremy Grapenton. Actually, folks, he's had to go back to the engine room because we were flying over a Trump rally and got some hoods caught in our landing gear. Actually, folks, that is going to be one of the primary and principal topics of this evening's program. Here we are in the immediate aftermath of the Super Tuesday primary and caucuses results. And as you are all aware, the salivating mainstream media, particularly the graduates of Pavlov's School of Journalism thereof, came out in the days leading up to the Super Tuesday, or as Jeremy likes to call it, Super Cruise Day primaries and caucuses, saying that it would be an ultimate landslide for Donaldus, Julius Caesar Trumpus, that he would absolutely sweep the floor with the other candidates, and that it would shoo him into the nomination for the gutless opposition party, or GOP. I'm sorry, I just don't see it that way, folks, because Ted Cruz picked up Texas, Oklahoma, and despite the material girl former governor of Alaska's endorsement of the hairpiece, he also took Alaska. Surprisingly, boy wonder, that is Narco Rube EIEIO, managed to take the state of, what was it, Minnesota? Yeah.
Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah, he took Minnesota. And so that, by some stretch of a miracle, he remains in the race, unfortunately. Now, there are rumors that Dr. Ben Carson, well, not just rumors, he's actually put out statements that he doesn't see a path forward and that he will be making an announcement at the CPAC meeting in Washington, D.C., and that he won't be attending tomorrow's Fox News' 11th gutless opposition presidential primary candidate debate things. And I of course, don't want to jump to any conclusions because Dr. Ben, I'm a victim Carson, might accuse either me or Ted Cruz of playing some dirty trick here. But believe me, folks, that is not the intention. It's just something that he and his campaign have put out without question. But as we all know, part of the problem that Donaldus Julius Caesar Trumpus had when he was going into the Super Tuesday primaries and caucus contest was that he had stumbled with this Jake Tapper interview that he had on the Communist News Network, or CNN, in which he claimed that he had a faulty earpiece and kept repeating David Duke's name in every thing that Tapper was asking of him. He was basically refusing to disavow the Ku Klux Klan, you know, the old military wing of the Democrat Party. He was refusing to denounce that or to disavow that or David Duke's endorsement of him, claiming that he had never heard of him when in fact he had written an op-ed piece in the New York Times back in 2000 stating that the primary reason he was leaving Ross Perot's Reform Party was because the image of the party had been tarnished by the arrival or the joining of that party by such nefarious figures and bigots as David Duke. So was he lying then, or is he lying now, or is it more likely that he lies all the time? I think we have a winner with a third option. But folks, it's going to get even worse than that from here, because even though all of the Trump camp has basically circled the wagons and said that this is a hit piece by the graduates of Pavlov's School of Journalism for the salivating mainstream media, it really isn't. There is now starting to be an alarming trend. We've already heard reports of robocalls from white supremacist groups saying don't vote for the dirty Cubans. I mean, they say that Ted Cruz plays the dirty tricks. No, I think this takes the cake.
Well, when you have individuals like James Edwards, white nationalist, white supremacist, holding a radio show to where Donaldus Julius Caesar Trumpus II or Jr. is a guest speaker on there
for 20 minutes.
For 20 minutes. we can't even get the hairpiece and his
Entourage.
talking angina to even come on our show.
No.
For, 15 minutes. We gave him an opportunity to take the spotlight for 14 minutes just to have a conversation with us to set us straight in what we talk about.
Sure.
Of course, we would only need 1 minute to make our point, but, he won't even do that.
No.
So to say that he doesn't know who David Duke was, didn't know who he was, didn't want to disavow him, or just completely say, you know what? Hey, we're not going to talk about the KKK. They're an evil organization. Evil is evil. No, he actually, by not disavowing them, he's embracing them.
Oh, yeah.
And when it comes to evil, you either turn away from it or you run towards it.
Absolutely.
There's no gray line.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you see, this is the problem. His failure to disavow the unofficial endorsement by David Duke, who was actually in the, early 1990s, I believe it was, he attempted to run for a Senate seat for the state of Louisiana as a type of reform candidate, but he was absolutely a former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. And I love this. A lot of the Trump supporters, and most of them are good people. It's just they've been misled. They're so blinded by anger that they've been misled. But a lot of them have come up and said, "Well, why aren't we disavowing the relationship that Hillary Clinton had with KKK Robert Byrd?" Absolutely. The former and now deceased senator from the state of West Virginia absolutely had those Klan ties, as did Strom Thurmond. But they came from an era where that was more commonplace. It's not like David Duke came from the 50s, the 40s, or the 60s. I mean, that's a different era. The country hadn't even really gone through civil rights, the civil rights movement yet. And, there may be questionable things about that movement, but the goals of it certainly were not a bad thing. But I'm not being an apologist for him. I'm just saying that that type of argument is not going to work well, because the left is already frothing at the mouth trying to make this election about identity politics, and the Trump camp is just stepping in it with reckless abandon. And it is going to tarnish and harm and damage the conservative image for generations to come. I mean, there really is no way around that. I don't see how we can get around that. And I don't see how we can avoid this from harming the conservative image for decades. I mean, they're already going to attack every other candidate that steps up there, irrespective of the fact that Cruz would be the first Hispanic nomination or successful candidate for the president. He was already the first to win a caucus or an election contest back in Iowa. Did we hear the media mention that once? No.
Yeah. And, again, here's the thing. James Edwards was given press credentials.
And a parking spot.
Credentials by the Trump campaign.
Mm-hmm.
He was given. Now, if you have no ties and no association or affiliation with an organization of hatred or evil,
right?
How is it that they get press credentials to your campaign or your rally?
Good.
Explain that.
Yeah.
Explain that. That would be like, Hillary Clinton saying, "Oh, well, I don't have any affiliation to, the Tea Party, but, ends up getting endorsed by certain rogue members of the Tea Party. Says, I don't have any affiliation with the Tea Party members, but let's say, I don't know, just using this as an example, let's say Glenn Beck, and don't take offense to this, Glenn, this is just purely as an example. let's say Glenn Beck was given press credentials to a Hillary Clinton rally.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say that the Blaze made an endorsement of Hillary Clinton. You know, first of all, Hillary Clinton would disavow that endorsement right off the bat because it would completely destroy her narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Completely destroy it. She would want nothing to do with it because it would completely destroy her.
Absolutely.
So why is it that Trump did not completely disavow the endorsement by David Duke? Well, he did, but it was like, 3 hours later?
No, it took him 4 days.
4 days.
It took him 4 days. You know, it's not hard, folks. All you have to say is, I disavow.
In the manner of comb overs, I guess 3 hours equals 4 days.
Yeah.
So, but,
Yeah.
You know, here's the other point. You don't give press credentials to an organization or an affiliation of a group or anybody affiliated with a group that is associated with that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. Why would you do that?
But,
well, it's, you know, everybody has the freedom of the press. Really? I don't buy that for a damn minute. You know why? Because Trump is completely anti-First Amendment.
oh, yeah.
Anybody that says otherwise has their head up their posterior.
Yeah, it's because he's already come out and said that he wants to basically loosen the libel laws that we have to get rid of the, basically, what is it, a public figure exemption, basically. I mean, you have to prove actual malice, which is damn near impossible to prove in a court of law, but that doesn't matter to Trump. Trump is so thin-skinned that he doesn't want people to be able to speak out against him. And that means that you're going to see all sorts of satire, dissolve. You're going to see everything just fall apart. And yes, you're right. He is a fascist. There is no other way to describe who he is or what he espouses. And that's the whole thing about Donnie Jr. there going on to this white supremacist radio show. Is that really going to bode well? I can already hear all of the attack ads that will be drummed up by the Democrat super PACs against the hairpiece. And it will devastate the conservative image because it will satisfy and satiate all of those two-dimensional caricatures that the left paints of right-wing philosophy here in the United States of America.
Now, what's the hairpiece going to say? Is he going to say, well, I can't be held responsible for the actions of my offspring? That's not right. That's not fair. Just because my kid goes on to, a white supremacy talk show and talks about my campaign and how great of a person I am because he wants to be like me because I'm his hero. Well, guess what? You absolutely are going to be held accountable and reliable for the actions of your offspring. Because if they go out there to stump for you,
they are representing you.
Your campaign, you are allowing them to do that. If you don't want them to do that, you don't want to be held responsible for their actions, you tell them, don't speak about my campaign. Don't even associate yourself with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you make a public statement stating as such.
But, he hasn't even disavowed the robocalls that were made, saying don't vote for those filthy Cubans. I mean, what sort of message does that send? Is that something that we can really overcome with the left? I honestly don't think we can.
Well, it would be no different than them saying don't vote for those filthy Negroes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't vote for those filthy Jews. Don't vote for those filthy Catholics.
Well, that Ann Coulter's already come out and said, basically, the damn Jews, little orphan Annie Toto, yep, Jews, that dirty Cruz, that sleazy Rubio. And then, her excuse for defending Donaldus hiring illegal alien Polish workers is that what Rubio was really doing there was being anti-white and that Cubans have high IQs, as if that red herring had anything to do with the arguments that were being made against Donaldus. I mean, how intellectually disingenuous can you get? I don't think you can get more disingenuous than that.
No, and, she is the walking epitome of what it is to be disingenuous.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to make that disappear with her, just turn her sideways. That's all you have to do. Just turn her sideways. There, it's gone.
Yeah, because she's as thin as a sheet of paper.
Yeah. And, and that speaks volumes to her intellect, too.
Oh, yeah.
The lack thereof.
Oh, yeah.
Because anybody that supposedly is educated as she is, again, she supposedly has more education than I, and yet she can't understand simple literature, simple reading of the law, simple comprehension of the Constitution.
Well, Jeremy, I don't think it's that she can't understand it. I think she is purposefully obfuscating the truth because it goes against her propagandistic narrative. I mean, she is absolutely operating off of Joseph Goebbels' little pamphlet explaining all of his attack, all of his propaganda techniques. She is using black and white propaganda. Black propaganda being that stuff where you hide the source or try and deflect away from any type of damaging image to the message that you have or the goal that you are intending to achieve. And she was trying to do that with the IQ thing. I mean, it was totally off point. But the problem with it is it's not boomerang proof. Here we are, the little Wright Flyer, radio aviation excellence, this pop and pop type organization, sitting here throwing it right back at them because we are all about the truth. That's absolutely what we're about here.
Well, and it's like Goebbels said, in order for propaganda to be effective, it has to be boomerang proof. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? You just threw the boomerang at a couple of individuals that can not only catch it, but can throw it right back at you. And we can do it with blunt force trauma, if need be.
We can do it blindfolded. We could do it blindfolded.
Blindfolded with both of our hands tied behind our backs.
Yes, our teeth are that good, folks. But, it goes to show that basically what we have here is the P.T. Barnum of our generation. It was P.T. Barnum that was alleged to have come up with the phrase that there's a sucker born every minute. And basically, that's what we're seeing right now. When you look at what little orphan Annie Toto, yep, has been doing, and then all of these associations with David Duke, the Klan, that other radio show host guy that you mentioned, it shows James Edwards, that is all a huge problem. And do not think for a single minute that the left is not going to take this and run with it. That is the Saul Alinsky rules for radical tactics that they are expert with. And they will annihilate Trump in the general election. And therefore, all of you that made it to where Donaldus Julius Caesar Trumpus became the nominee of the gutless opposition party will have no one else to blame but yourself for when you get prepared to say President Hillary Clinton. I hate the thought of that. I honestly do, Jeremy, but that will be their fault because those of us with good conscience simply cannot vote for a fascist.
It goes further than that. Those of us with good conscience cannot stand idly by and do nothing at that point. Because if we do that, then we fall succumb as suspects and perpetrators of
co-conspirators
in this country.
Co-conspirators. It goes right down the line of what Thomas Jefferson said, that all it takes for evil to take afoot is for men of good conscience to do nothing. And that is exactly what it would be if we were giving our vote to Hillary Clinton. Now, I've already heard a couple of rebuttals to this. They've tried to say that the phrase the lesser of two evils is not actually about evil, or sin. It's about making the best of two terrible options. Well, here's the problem. It's like being able to decide which way you want to die. Do you want to shoot yourself, or do you want to have your neck broken instantly by hanging? I mean, is it really a choice? The outcome is the same. That's the problem. It's a false dichotomy. It is not a true argument, and therefore it is an intellectually disingenuous position to take, to say that if you vote third party, because that's where your conscience is, because a candidate like Donaldus Julius Caesar Trumpus doesn't reflect your political views, is somehow voting for Hillary Clinton. You see, that's a false argument. It's a faulty premise. It's simply not true.
Sure. Now, there's this other thing going on with, calling Trump a fascist.
Mm-hmm.
And people are saying, well, I don't think he fits the mold of being a fascist.
Well, he quotes Mussolini.
Well, he quoted Mussolini. In fact, he actually said he didn't know who that was from, but then he says, well, yeah, I realize it was from Mussolini, but so what? Who cares who said it? It's a great quote. So let's see. When Hitler said that one people, one Reich, one Führer, I guess that was a good quote according to some people too, and regardless if he said it or not, right?
Well, let's take another quote of Hitler's that would fit the narrative of what Trump has been saying. That whole idea about him reforming Germany's healthcare, he said it was to make sure that nobody was dying on the streets. Oh, does that sound familiar? It ought to, because it's something that Trump has parroted not once, but multiple times on the campaign trail and during the nationally televised gutless opposition presidential candidate debates. I mean, there's no way around that.
And that was one of the premises that Hitler gave, one of the foundational statements he made when he passed the Prevention of Disease and Progeny Health Act.
Mm-hmm.
One of what, 5 pieces of legislation that Hitler enacted into law.
Right.
And again, that was no different than Obamacare or Hitler Care, Hillary Care, Romney Care, or Trump Care, because that's effectively what it's going to come down to. Remember, he said repeal and replace. Marco Rubio said repeal and replace too.
Yeah, Ted Cruz is the only one that has said just repeal. Yeah. Ted Cruz is the only one who has said replace and stopped at replace. And think about that, folks. It's because when you look at this from a constitutional standpoint, it's that you can't just replace it. It cannot be replaced. It is an illegal law to begin with. And it's like what Trump has said in one of his interviews, that he loved the mandate. He loved the personal mandate. Folks, you cannot be against Obamacare and love the mandate. The mandate is the lifeblood of that bill, and it is absolutely violative of our shared United States Constitution. And you see, folks, that is one of the major problems that both Jeremy and I have with the Donaldus. He does not follow the Constitution, and pursuant to Article 6, Clause 2, our shared Constitution is the supreme law of the land. There literally is no way around that.
Yep. And so getting back to this fascism thing, the official definition came from Benito Mussolini. He's the one who defined fascism. And there's 3 parts to it, 3 principles. Principle number 1, everything in the state. It means the government is the supreme of the country, and the country is all-encompassing, and all within it must conform to the ruling body, which means must follow the government, or a dictator.
Right. Let's go to
Principle
the
number 2.
iconography of it, even. The iconography of fascism was a bundle of sticks tied together, known as the phalanx or the phalange. That is fascism. The individual means nothing. And therefore, that's diametrically opposed to our natural law system or our representative Republican system of government.
Sure. And principle number 2 says nothing outside of the state, meaning that the country has to grow, but there has to be an implied goal of any fascist nation is to rule the world or to basically outreach and take over whatever it can, and every human or every other part of the country will, or of the world, will have to eventually succumb to your ideology. Number 3, nothing against the state. If there's any questioning or anything that goes against that government or that dictator, it is not going to be tolerated, and it's going to be removed completely or destroyed completely. And there's no in between.
And you know what? That's just like the Chinese proverb that said, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. And that's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
It's all against the individual. That is what these movements are always about.
So let's apply this to Trump. Okay? Everything in the state. Well, Trump made the point of saying, you know, I won this state, I won that state, I did this, I'm bringing all these people together, Democrats, you know, Republicans, Independents, I'm bringing them together so that we can grow the party. We're making it bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that automatically covers point number 1 and point number 2, because A, he established himself as the dictator, as the one who got everybody involved in doing that.
Right.
So he's the one who, as the dictator, meaning the first principle, everything in the state, bringing in nothing outside the state, meaning he got all those people to go together. He's going to expand the party. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be huge. And then you see at his rallies, anybody and everybody that spoke out against him, first thing he does, get him out of here. Get her out of there. Get them out of here. We don't want them here.
Yeah, he vilifies them.
Fascist.
Yeah, he's
a fascist.
Right, he vilifies them to take away their humanity. And you see, that's always the way it is with fascism, because they revile the idea of the individual sovereign. There is no such thing as individuality. There's no human dignity in a fascist mentality. But let's also be clear here, folks, that it's kissing cousins to the ideology of communism and socialism. Remember that the Nazis were the National Socialist German Workers' Party. That is, you know, fascism. It's also socialism. They are basically flip sides of the same coin. And, you know, that's the thing with Trump. His ex-wife, Ivana, said that he used to keep a book of Hitler's speeches next to his bed, and that he had a strong affinity for the German National Socialist dictator. Is that really the type of person that we want to put in the highest office in the land of, and to be the leader of the free world? Because I can tell you right now that we would no longer be considered the free world.
Well, and here's the thing. The Germans are great engineers.
Mm-hmm.
They always have been. They're great at engineering things, mechanical, physical, structuring things pertaining to military. They're great engineers. Trump fancies himself on being an architect, an engineer of things. He likes to engineer things to, you know, get people to do stuff in a certain way so that, A, he can either profit from them ultimately, which he always tries to do, under the shroud of people trying to better themselves or profit themselves. Much like Trump University.
Right.
So he engineered a way to build millions of dollars from individuals in order so that he could build up something in the hopes of and false pretenses of people actually being able to better their own lives.
Right.
Gee, I wonder if that book of Hitler's speeches, they talked about, engineering cultures, which Hitler was real big on that. It was one of the cornerstones of his principles.
Yeah.
He worked with Heinrich Himmler and Joseph Goebbels and various, Hans Goering, various different
Hermann Goering, yes.
engineers.
Hermann Goering, yes.
Wright.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, maybe that's why he did it. Germans are good at engineering things. They're one of the best cultures of individuals for engineering, bar none, hands down.
In fact, they over-engineer things. They have a tendency to over-engineer things. That's part of the reason why they were unable to win in Russia. I mean, one of many reasons why.
Sure. But at the same time, they are good engineers. So taking, that aspect of engineering, which is good, engineering is good, but when you take that aspect and you take that trait and that skill and you apply a evil, methodical twist to it, that's when evil starts to grow. And that's what Trump has done. Look at Trump Towers, the casinos, Trump University, this presidential campaign, all the associations he has,
right,
whether he says about them or not, is use of the media to tear people down. Even with him, the reports of him buying up JebBush.com and putting out tactics and changing the rhetoric on there to make Jeb Bush look bad, it's engineering, is what it is. A lot of people say, well, that's glorified marketing. That's all engineering is. It's marketing. Trump is a businessman. He has a knack for marketing. He's a salesman. He could sell a wet bag of dog feces lit on fire to people if he really had to. And I believe he really could, because people are that stupid to buy it.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what he's doing, it's not about the people, but he has conned the people into thinking that that's what he is all about. But it really isn't what he's about. He is about himself. He has been for 69 years of his life. That's all he knows. It's all he does. It's all he'll ever do. And you see here where the disconnect comes in is you can tell he's not a true conservative, because a conservative would not support anything to do with an organization like the Klan. If you want to make the Klan argument, or to take away the power from any so-called endorsement, you would say, I don't want the support of the military branch of the Democrat Party. That takes it away. That is a way to combat it. But to say that you didn't know who the organization was, or who David Duke was, or who he was associated or affiliated with, that is just intellectually disingenuous, and it goes against everything that we know to be true. And in fact, when he published that New York Times op-ed back in 2000, it digs the hole deeper. It shows that he is a pathological liar. I don't even think he knows what the truth is anymore at all.
Well, it's kind of hard to not know what and who the KKK are.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, they were founded in, 1835?
No. 1866.
1866. Okay.
Yeah, basically a year after the end of the Civil War. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they've been around
150 years.
150 years.
Mm-hmm.
150 years.
That's a century and a half, folks.
So, a century and a half, of which Trump has been alive for almost half that amount of time, and yet he doesn't know who the KKK are. He doesn't know who is affiliated with the KKK. Didn't know who David Duke was, but yet David Duke has been on numerous media outlets. He was even in the news back in the 80s, in the late 80s, early 90s, participating in Klan rallies that were televised. But yet he doesn't know or didn't know who David Duke was. Really. I suppose he's never heard of a book called The Turner Diaries either.
Oh, you know he has. And here's the thing. What makes it worse is that he stated in that article, point blank, that David Duke was a bigot and a white supremacist, and that's why he was leaving the party. And so, and that being the Reform Party that was founded by Ross Perot. Now, here's the funny thing. He's now come out and said that he disavowed him from the start. Well, that's cute because that's not what you said on Sunday, Trump. And that's the problem. When you say so many things, it gets hard to keep track of all of your lies. And that is really going to hurt us if he, by some cruel twist of fate, secures the gutless opposition party nomination for president.
Well, yes, it's going to hurt us in the short term. And when I say us, I'm referring to the conservatives that actually understand what's going on. Now, there are some conservatives that are sheltered, albeit it's a self-inflicted shelter because they bought into this whole hook, line, and sinker, this, dare I say it, hoodwink of Trump, to where, people are supporting Trump because they're just tired of politicians. Well, then aren't they falsely supporting Trump because he is a politician? He has been a politician from day one when he started putting money in politicians' pockets. That makes him a politician. It makes him a lobbyist politician, but a politician nonetheless.
Right. And Jeremy, I'm going to take this a step further, though. You said this would only hurt us in the short term. I'm talking about being able to secure elections for generations to come. Because what he's going to do is, and I think this is by design, he is a friend of Hillary Clinton. He had her to his wedding. He has been, for the vast majority of his adult life, a strong proponent and advocate of progressive causes or Fabian socialist causes. I think this is by design. He is fulfilling every caricature the left makes of the right, and they're going to be able to legitimize these claims which otherwise have no place. Look at what they can say. They can say, look, the Republicans had 2 Cubans, they turned them down and put in a guy with Klan connections who then has an interview with, Howard Stern, and which he just said all these deplorable, hateful, and terrible things about women. Now, of course, the Trump camp is already coming out and saying that they were just off-color jokes. I mean, that's what Donnie Jr. is saying, but what credibility does Donnie Jr. have when he is accepting a 20-minute radio slot with a white supremacist, a known white supremacist? These things just cannot be ignored. And you know that the graduates of Pavlov's School of Journalism for the salivating mainstream media are going to have an absolute field day with this in the general elections. There's no doubt about it.
Well, when I say this is, going to hurt us in the short term, and I talk about, conservatives that haven't, drank the trumpet.
Mm-hmm.
conservatism, true constitutional embodied individuals that make up the heart and soul of this country, the republic that we have. We will always win. We will always come out on top. Why? Because there's no other way. There's no other way for it to happen. Things like this happening, all it means is the battle scars are just going to get that much heavier, and they're going to cut that much deeper, but it's still not going to kill us, because you cannot kill the truth. Eventually, the truth will rear its head, come back with a vengeance, and that will be it. It'll all be said and done. Now, I understand what you're saying with it being all done by design. That Trump is a plant. He absolutely is. Let's go back to this interview that he had back in the 90s on Oprah.
1999.
1999, Oprah Winfrey show, where she asked if he would ever run as president. He says, well, if I ever ran as president, I'd run as a Republican, because Republicans are the stupidest of all the voters.
He actually said that in People magazine, but they're trying to say that he never said it. You see, that's always the pattern with the defenses from Donaldus's camp. And, this goes back to something that Zygmunt Dobbs said in his magnus opus of Keynes at Harvard. It's that they always use these vague and abstract terms. They always speak out of both sides of their mouth. That way they can claim plausible deniability. There has been so much filth, so much vulgarity, so much bovine excrement just spewed out of this New York billionaire's mouth that we don't even really know what he's saying at any time, because he said everything. He has accepted every position, stood on each side of, say, the pro-life issue, each side of the firearm issues, each side halfway with healthcare. That's where he shows his true colors, because he's not willing to fully drop his support for universal healthcare. Even when he's in full charade mode, he just is unwilling, unequivocally unwilling to give that up.
Yeah. And it seems that, Trump doesn't want to give anything up. He won't go to the carpet on it. He wants to keep beating the drum on certain issues. And again, one of the biggest things is he claims that he's a winner. And we're all going to be winners. Well, guess what? I don't need him to make me a winner.
No.
For the simple fact that he's never going to be a winner in my book. You know why? Because
he didn't win my vote.
He's never going to get my vote.
And he never won mine.
He's never going to get my vote.
And he never won my state.
That's right. Hashtag never Trump.
Yeah.
Equals Texas. How's that?
Yeah, it works for me. And it just goes to show that it's amazing that people have bought into this. And what it is it comes down to this common thread that has been seen in all of the exit polls in this election cycle thus far. The American voters are frustrated and dissatisfied with the direction of the country. I can't fault them for that. I feel the same way. But, righteous indignation is better than blind anger, because when you are angry to the point that you are, just blinded to reality, it means that you are easily manipulated. And folks, that is exactly what Donaldus Julius Caesar Trumpus is trying to do. He's trying to manipulate you into thinking that he cares about you. But nothing could be further from the truth. Donaldus couldn't give two excrements about you. Donaldus only cares about himself. Now, I can already hear the shrill, discordinal voices of the trumpeters in the back of my mind, his diehard supporters, maybe Donnie Jr. or David Duke, sitting there saying that, well, how could I know what's in his heart and in his mind? Well, past conduct is a great indicator of future results in future positions. He he has held these positions for the vast majority of his adult life. What makes you think he's just going to change his stripes overnight? That's not how humanity works.
And again, it brings the question up, was he lying then? Or is he lying now? Or has he been lying the whole time?
And to be honest, I think he's been lying the whole time. That third option absolutely is the most plausible here. It's so bad now that he probably doesn't even know what the truth is. And I love how his kids basically parrot the same thing he does. It's all this emotional crap and no substance to it. Well, my dad's a great guy, and these people are just mean to my dad. I mean, look at his hair. He's got good hair. I've learned how to speak from him. I'm trying to sell you a new hair product. No, we don't want it. Oh, and that's the other thing about Donald as Julius Caesar trumpets. He said everything is negotiable. Wrong. Our Constitution is non-negotiable. Our fundamental and unalienable rights are absolutely non-negotiable. That's the problem. We cannot allow this man to go up and negotiate away our fundamental and unalienable rights. First of all, he doesn't have the authority to do so, since those rights were endowed to us by our Creator, the God of nature. That is just the way it is. But he's going to try. He says everything's negotiable. That is not the way you run this country. It goes against the natural law. Absolutely.
Well, wait a second. Everything's negotiable, right? His words.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. How's this for negotiation? All of Trump's holding, real estate, property, businesses, etc., his whole worth and well-being. Why don't you put that up, and why don't you just go ahead and sign that over to us here at the Wright Flyer? Okay? See, this is negotiations here. Everything's negotiable. You want us to stop digging up dirt on you, which isn't hard. You know, I mean, it's pretty much every time you open your mouth, there it is. But if you want us to stop reporting on it, which isn't going to happen, but if you want us to think about stopping the reporting on this, you put all your holdings, all your property, all your real estate up, and, you know, we'll think about it. You sign it over to us, we'll think about it. How's that for negotiating? Everything's negotiable, right? Yeah.
You know he's going to sit there and say that he wasn't at the negotiating table here, but that's all right. It's an open offer.
It's an open offer. It's an open offer. You know what? We'll start off small, half.
Okay. That's fair.
Half, just for us to even think about, you know, stopping with the reporting the truth on you.
You might even want to throw in Jeff Sessions' hood and robes there too. We need something to burn.
Yeah, so that we can, you know, torch it. You know, we'll have a pig roast, and we'll just go ahead and torch that hood and robe there. You know, we'll take that as a good faith estimate. How's that? Good faith offer.
Yeah.
Everything's negotiable, right? Oh, you don't want to take our offer? Fine, we'll continue to do what we're doing. Because the truth has no agenda.
Yep.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
So there's the offer. There's negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple.
You know, I want to turn...
You know what he would say? You know what he'd say? Who are these two little punks? Who are these? Who do they think they are? Well, we'll tell you exactly who we are. We're the people that will not let our country be led astray by a fascist, wannabe potentate, sawed-off, oompa-loompa, bad, comb-over looking mental midget like you.
Yeah, we don't support orange supremacists. We don't support orange supremacists. Sorry, I happen to not agree with orange supremacists. But
and by the way, folks, we are not white supremacists either. I think, Randy, I actually hit the term for us earlier. We're natural supremacists.
We support
meaning that we support natural law to the fullest extent.
Yep.
We are natural supremacists.
And
I think all true constitutionalists are natural supremacists.
mm-hmm. And you can already see some of the vicious hatred that is spewed with respect to some of the dredges of Trump. You know, those robocalls saying don't elect a dirty Cuban. Does that really have any place in civil society? You know, we have absolutely declared war on the cancerous and retarded doctrine of political correctness. And I mean retarded in that it's holding us back. It's absolutely destructive, but that does not mean on the same token or on the flip side of that coin that we also believe that the code of civility, the code of cordiality, you know, being able to have civil discourse should be thrown out the window as well. That's absolutely not the case, because we believe wholeheartedly that you should accept responsibility for the consequences of your action. That's part of what our founding fathers meant when they said that we are the popular sovereigns. We have free speech, we have all of our rights, but we must also be willing to accept any and all consequences for the method and manner in which we exercise said rights.
Yeah, and to believe anything else, for us to believe anything else, that would make us frauds, folks. Mm-hmm. Now, we're not going to take our time and energy, and in case many of you haven't noticed, I'm kind of suffering a little bit of I don't know if we were over flyover country over the past week or something, there was some kind of dandruff storm that kind of got brought into
supercell dandruff storm
cockpit somehow. I don't know it, but anyways, it's played hell with my throat. Mm-hmm. So, but see, we do this. We bring all of this to you because we love our country, plain and simple. We always have, we always will. No matter what turmoil our country goes through, we are on the side of our country, the red, white, and blue, the United States of America, the constitutional representative republic. Whatever hand is dealt this country, we will see it through because we must. Mm-hmm. Because it is in our principles, it is in our heritage.
It's in our blood. You know, when Obama sits there and says that it's racism that is an inherent part of the United States of America's DNA, that's a load of hogwash and crap. It's actually rugged individualism. It is this idea that we are all the popular sovereigns and that the government is not to be superior to us, that the government is to be our servant. That is the way that our founding fathers absolutely intended for this country to be. And that is the way this country will be so long as both Jeremy and I are drawing breath. That is just the facts here, folks. And, you have to look at Donaldus Julius Caesar Trumpus and this type of a fraud show that he's doing. I have to say, it was a very close call in Alaska, but Texas Senator Ted Cruz did take it in the end. And you know what, folks? I think that speaks volumes about how the Alaskans felt with respect to the original material girl, Sarah Yehoser Palin. Media heads are spinning. They're spinning like the people of Alaska when I abandoned them. Because guess what, folks? That's what she did. She basically took up and abandoned them. And they have not forgotten it. I mean, anyone who endorses John McCain over Katie Ward, or what's her name exactly? Make sure I'm not getting that wrong. Kelly Ward. Sorry, Kelly. A true constitutional conservative, that speaks volumes, because I'm sure you all recall the way that John McCain had betrayed Sarah Palin, basically blaming his loss in 2008, not on his abysmal performance, but on Sarah Palin herself. It's a load of hogwash.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you know, and it's still, I still remember that night. You know, I come home from the booth, from the voting places. I was working as a poll inspector, and I come home. I fell asleep, waiting for the results to come in. And when I woke up, there's my friend, standing there on stage, telling people in his audience that Barack Obama is a good guy. He was conceding the election. It was a concession thing. He's a good guy. I about puked. Because here it was, I voted for him. Most likely out of ignorance on my part. It was 2008. I was 28 years old. Still, you know, quite ignorant. And in fact, I'll be the first to admit I'm still quite ignorant to a lot of things. But I felt like my guts were all at once just going to come out of my mouth, and that would have been the end of me. That's what I felt like when I heard him say that. If you want to talk about disenfranchisement, if you want to talk about being betrayed and being abandoned,
that would be it.
That did it right there.
Oh, yeah.
That did it right there. And you know what? He did that on behalf of the GOP, the gutless opposition party. Because from that point on, I have never voted for an individual that had the full backing and support of the GOP. Now, should it be seen fit that Ted Cruz is the nominee, which I still believe he will be, the GOP will have no choice but to back him. And I understand that it's not going to be a genuine sincerity in backing him, because the GOP absolutely hates him. They hate him with a vitriolic disdain that is so acidic to them. It tears them up inside just thinking about him becoming the nominee. They want Trump to be the nominee. Why? Because, well, Trump wants to be the nominee. It goes back to what Randy was saying. This is all done by design. The GOP, the DNC, Trump, and all the other Fabians and fascists of the world are all goons together. Now, I'm not a big believer in the New World Order or anything like that, but you know what? This is eerily close to that. It truly is, in the grand scheme of things, if you want to think about it on that level.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, you know, they would rather have Hillary in, too, because then they can sit back there and drink off the gravy train, but then still give this little feign of, yeah, we are opposing them, and then cave at the last minute, like they always do. This is why we changed the meaning of GOP from the grand old party, or the great old party, to the gutless opposition party. Because, let's face it, folks, they are absolutely gutless in any and all opposition to this Barack Hussein Obama regime. They have been feckless, timid, and absolutely incapable of achieving anything. Anything.
Yeah, and, you know, again, it was that instance of betrayal of me by John McCain that set the tone for the whole party. And everybody, you know, a lot of people say, well, you can't cast that kind of a blanket on the whole party. Absolutely I can. Because not one person that is alongside with him has held him accountable for that. Yeah. Well, how can they know that you feel this way? They don't need to know that I felt betrayed by that. They shouldn't have to know that I felt betrayed by that, because his statements in and of themselves were an act of betrayal. And they never held him accountable for that. No, instead, they made it to where he kept getting elected again and again and again.
Yeah.
Why is that?
It's because they're in cahoots with each other.
They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care, and they're in cahoots with the left. They are basically left-light. They are the Me Too party. That's why, Mitt Romney was a poor candidate. Now, everybody's wondering why Mitt Romney's coming out against Trump now. I think there is a steady realization that, yes, this anger is real. Folks, I'm not going to say that this is just a temper tantrum on the part of the American electorate. No, this anger is real. It is a movement. It's justified anger. But the thing is, we cannot allow a charlatan, a P.T. Barnum of our era. Remember the man who created the circus sideshow freaks and basically said there's a sucker born every minute. We cannot allow him to manipulate this righteous indignation. You need to take a step back and look at this logically, principally with a constitutional lens, because as Jeremy and I have said time and again on past episodes of the Wright Flyer, the only litmus test that is applicable when determining whether or not a candidate is qualified to hold the highest office in the land is that of the supreme law of the land, our shared United States Constitution.
Yeah. And, I'm not going to begrudging other individuals on how they want to vote.
No.
It's not my place to tell people how to vote. However, I feel it is my obligation, my civic duty as a United States citizen and an American to inform people about their potential vote. See, if I was running for office, I would want my constituents to know everything about me. Now, I would make it simple for them. I would just put it all out on the table.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would do it. That way, there's no fuss, no muss. Here it is. This is what I stand for. This is what I've been involved with in the past. These are some of the mistakes I've made. I've learned my lesson from these mistakes. I've moved on this and this and this. These mistakes have actually helped me become the person that I am, because that's what mistakes are for.
They're learning opportunities.
For people to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
It helps shape our character. If people were not allowed to make a mistake, then people would not know what it means to fail or to be wrong. Furthermore, if people don't know what it is to be wrong, they will never truly know what it means to be right.
Yeah.
You have to be wrong in order to be right.
It's light and dark. It's
learning.
Yeah, it's the understanding you don't know sweet without bitter. You have to have each of the polar opposites. And you see, folks, this is why we warn you about Donaldus Julius Caesar Trumpus. He doesn't admit that he's ever made mistakes. Never. Not once. Not Trump Steaks, not Trump the Game, not his bankrupt casinos. And you see, folks, if you're going to say that the reason that we need him is because of the economic dire straits we're in right now and the way that he runs his company, I don't want him running the nation the way that he runs his company. First of all, a nation cannot declare bankruptcy. The bankruptcy code explicitly forbids it.
Yeah. Number two, I don't want somebody stifling my First Amendment speech. Better yet, I don't want somebody stifling anybody's First Amendment speech.
Yeah.
I don't care what political bent they are.
Yeah.
If Trump wants to hold people accountable in the media by saying, well, you know what, they put out a false report, let's go ahead and find them and punish them for it. Or, I don't like what that person said.
Throw them in jail.
Did that?
Yeah.
Hitler did that.
Yep.
Hitler did that. You spoke out against the right, you were either jailed or shot. Period.
Or hanged on a piano wire. I mean, that's literally what they did. It was barbarism.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't
I
just
don't
him.
care.
Joseph Stalin did it too. Pol Pot did it. All of these tin pot dictators did stuff like that because it is all a cult of personality. Folks, we don't want you to fall a victim to Donaldus Julius Caesar's cult of personality. It will be the death of this country as we know it.
You know, if CNN puts out a report that they spin things a little bit, they take things out of context in order to get a certain result, okay, everybody does that. Everybody does it. It's, in a way, kind of human nature. You know, you have all these different, intonations of people's voice, different ways that people speak, so on and so forth. It happens. Is it purposeful? It depends. But see, we already have laws in place that handle things such as slander, libel, defamation, and malice. We already have laws in place. Trump wants to change the laws so that they better fit what he wants to do, how he thinks things should be run.
And let's not forget, folks, he would absolutely exempt himself from those laws. There's no question in my mind that he would make himself exempt from it, because that's what Trump does.
He would have to, because I'm willing to bet that he would make some of those laws in such a way that where they would be written to where they can actually be applied ex post facto.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's unconstitutional, he would still make it that way.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That way, he would have to exclude himself, because if he made him ex post facto, he would have to have himself indicted and brought up on charges for some of the things that he said.
Absolutely. All you haters and losers. I remember that tweet. Yeah. You see, folks, this is why we are warning you about him. And we're going to leave you with that, because it's going to make a huge impression. So with that said, it is time for us to begin our descent. I'm going to go ahead and send the flight attendant back for one last round of alcohol, maybe a phone for you to tweet against Donald Trump before he changes the laws to come after you. And we invite you to join us the next time we take off over the friendly airwaves, leaving you with an indelible yet pure sense of enlightenment, unlike any other radio program or venue out there. By the way, we also invite you to leave questions, comments, concerns, anything, either here at our YouTube page or our Google Plus page or our Facebook page. And of course, you can follow us at Twitter with the Twitter handle of @RadioAviationEX. Folks, that's all one word, @RadioAviationEX. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for flying the Wright Flyer. As always, I'm Randy Wright, and I'm joined by my First Officer, Jeremy Grapington. We will see you next time. Do take care.